Plutoburns, and welcome to Eagleland. Last time we looked at a manga where a guy died and reincarnated into a fantasy world. There have been a lot of these, but I mostly looked at Slime Buddha because it had just gotten an English release, which I went to all the trouble of purchasing so I could hold up at the end of the video and demonstrate that fact, but then I completely forgot to do that because I'm out of practice. But frankly, this week's manga, Kumo Desu ga Nanika, is much better and more worthy of attention. We open on a human girl dying for no reason, and then she breaks out of her weird prison and discovers spiders! But not just other spiders, she's a spider. Gwen died and has reincarnated as a standard mook grinding spider in a fantasy world. And she immediately has to start dodging getting ate by her octo-legged sisters as well as her oversized new mommy. Now, unlike the last manga where the main character reincarnated as a seemingly worthless slime monster, but oh how wacky, he's actually stupidly powerful, Gwen is just a weak-ass spider. She's got nothing going for her but the powers of a spider and her own human intelligence.
Well, I guess I died. I remember falling asleep in literature class, and then there was a lot of pain, so I guess I died and reincarnated as a spider. Or maybe I didn't die and I'm just in a coma, or maybe I'm still alive and my memories were just transferred into a spider. Oh, okay, time out. Overthinking this isn't gonna help, and I need to focus on staying alive right now. Well, I guess I'll go down here and— holy shit, human footprints! Okay, so if this footprint is normal people size, that would make me
a German Shepherd-sized spider. I am so glad I put up that trigger warning.
So this is a fantasy, but I don't have enough information. If this was a novel, I'd have something like an appraisal skill to gather information.
And then the voice of God intrudes to tell Gwen that she has 100 skill points and purchasing the appraisal skill will take all of them.
Alright, let's try this out.
Rock.
No! This is bullshit! I demand a re-roll on this life!
What's especially interesting about Gwen versus the leads of other gamey-like stories is that she not only starts out really weak, but also in constant mortal danger. Look, I like the gamer, but he basically got handed God mode and was given plenty of time to level it up before he was put in real danger. Gwen has a similar ability to level up and acquire new skills, but she has to do that starting with few skills and under constant threat of death from every mook and raid boss she crosses paths with, not even counting the human adventurers she occasionally bumps into. Also worth noting that basically every monster, and presumably human, has access to this same skill and level system. All that sets Gwen apart from the other low-level frog and lizard mooks is her human intelligence, which pairs well with her threads and dear old appraisal son. At level 1, the appraisal skill is almost useless, but by the time it gets to level 4, it gives her a very useful readout on her health and stamina. And at later levels, it lets her actually see the available skill list from which she can pick her level up bonuses, instead of just choosing blindly like she did when she picked appraisal. As a spider, Gwen has poisonous fangs and spider threads of various stickiness and strengths. Unfortunately, for her initial survival, most of the other mobs in the area are poisonous or come with some other nasty status effect. Her initial webbing home provides some security, but she still has to tangle with anything that gets caught before she gets to chow down. And even after securing food, giant poisonous frogs aren't known for being a French delicacy. She gets pretty scraped up in her food fights before she encounters a very valuable element of this world, namely the level up health reset that even comes with a restorative skin shed. This is extremely handy in fights with monsters well outside of her level range, like when this giant snake decides to slam Gwen into the ground when she latches under its head. She manages to tie the snake down and keep up the poison sting, but the snake starts smacking her with its tail and she almost dies from the impacts before the poison finally puts the snake down. Yeah! The fights in this manga are really tense and exciting. Gwen has to rely on her guile and the use of her threads to have any hope of survival, and she's always a lot smaller and weaker in terms of physical strength compared to her opponents, so she always feels like she's just about to get squished. Her initial fights with the frogs and lizards goes poorly, but her thoroughly webbed home space gives her the advantage, at least until her house gets burned down by some human adventurers looking for the rare egg she picked up. And Gwen does not handle the loss of her house well. Gwen was actually really fond of her little hammock.
It wasn't much, but she built it herself and it kept her safe. She felt an ownership over it that she'd never experienced as a human student. She was really wrecked by that loss, and she swore that she would never back down and flee from a fight again. Now that promise doesn't exactly go to plan, but getting swarmed by wasps who can kill her in almost one sting isn't what anyone meant by squad goals. And in her attempt to architecture her way past these B-movie rejects, she annoys an earth dragon and only avoids being squashed because she's so small and beneath the dragon that it literally doesn't notice her.
They say the nail that sticks up is the one that gets hammered down.
I want to stop and discuss how unusual it is that Gwen is a girl. Because these gamey stories are usually a boy's fantasy, with all the sexy lady fan service that entails.
But Gwen is pretty heavily coded girl, and not just because she was a girl in her previous life. Her spider design is not as disgusting as it could be, though I would not say it ever crosses over into cute. She mentally visualizes the appraisal skill as a lazy housebound neat, but when it upgrades, it's visualized as a sharp-dressed, high-powered businesswoman. And Gwen is highly motivated to finally get some real magic spells in her book because of her dreams to be a magical girl. A spidery magical girl. And frankly, it's just kind of nice to read a story where the hero doesn't immediately become OP and has hot girls throw themselves at him or beg to be in his presence.
That also ties into how genuinely hippopotamus this story is. Wait, what? Hippopotamus? Really? I know we've been on break for a while, but you can't just let these errors snail into the fermented produce. Oh, come on! You even messed up the fourth wall break!
But yeah, this manga is straight up hilarious. Gwen spends a lot of her time in her own head thinking about the implications of this world and planning out her level up paths. And while that stuff is normally pretty boring, Gwen has a very active imagination and the artist does a wonderful job representing that. When debating the reason for her survival in the very dangerous lower level, she comments on how she and all the other weak mobs come with some form of poison, which is naturally best expressed with a dancing girls lineup. And after a long drop, the successful landing is drawn like this. And I have spent many a night trying to understand why this manga made a reference to Da Vinci's Man.
I wish I could go into more detail, but it's hard to make constructive criticism of good comedy. It's funny drawings and good writing.
And that's honestly how I feel about this manga. Kumo Desu ga Nanika is a fun fantasy adventure. Combat is exceptionally well choreographed with magic-controlled threads and poison, giving Gwen a lot of tactical options. The world is familiar, but so far only viewed as a monster in a grand dungeon, so there's a lot of mystery left on the plate. Gwen is a fun and resilient character who makes a lot of practical decisions in order to survive. It's got a snugly familiar vibe to it, but it's still a fresh perspective on this gaming story type.
And that's all I gotta say about Spider Fun Time. You should totally check it out, even though none of the spiders are sexy. I know this was a shorter episode, and it's not really Halloween related, but I didn't plan this return around the calendar, and I do have something planned for Halloween, so just, wait for that. Today's manga was written by Baba Okina, who wrote the original light novel this is based on, and drawn by Kakashi Ashihiro, who's done a lot of porn, surprisingly. It's not published in English just yet, but it is scheduled to come out this December, so keep an eye out for it. Till next time, I'm Plutoburns, and this has been Eagle Land.